Hi, this is Lainey Cameron, and I'm here with Maddie Dawson to talk about her latest release, The Magic of Found Objects, which, if you only listen to the first 5 seconds, you can actually get it on Amazon First Reads right now for kind of for free if you're a member of the monthly program, but only for another 48 hours. So if you're looking to get it, now is the time to go get it. And this book is lovely. It made me laugh. The main character is adorable. I'm excited to hear where your inspiration came from because it's got some really unique themes in it that I haven't seen before. So first off, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I am so thrilled to be on your podcast. I watch all of them and I love them and they're just so much fun. So it's quite an honor to be here with you.
And your book, this particular book, I mean, you have so many wonderful books out there, but this one already has 1,000 reviews. It's just short of 1,000 reviews as we're recording this, which I'm sure it'll be over that by the time folks are watching. Insane, right? Being on First Reads for a month, you're getting all these great reviews. And here's some of the things I'm liking. People are saying it's a great read. It's engaging. It's charming. And I love that it's a bestseller in friendship fiction, which is really interesting.
Yes. Well, the two main characters are best friends, a man and a woman. They've been best friends since they were kindergartners. So
yeah. So tell us more. Tell us about the story of the book for those who haven't seen it yet.
Okay. So it's Franzi Linnell was conceived at Woodstock by two people who never probably should have met, a kind of witchy, artistic woman and a farmer's son from New Hampshire. And they meet at Woodstock. They're kind of teenagers. They fall in love quickly, conceive twins, and then can't make the marriage work. So they split up, and Franzi is raised pretty much by her father and stepmother, but she sees her mother during the summers, her witchy mother. And so she grows up kind of, she says she has practicality and magic in her DNA, and she has to keep making life decisions. She's not sure where she lands on those things. So it's a book about falling in love and whether that's important or not, or whether you want to just be practical and go for security.
And I'll tell you that you would never give away the ending anyway, but I'm about 70% of the way through the book, so you're not allowed to give away the ending because I don't know where it ends yet. But I will tell people that it's kind of fun because the conversation going on is like, is she going to marry her best friend? And that's coming up very early in the book, right? And so, and they're very good friends. And like you say, it's that practical thing of like, this is someone I'm compatible with. We find each other funny. We love to be together. Is that enough is the question. And I think your exploration of that is amazing.
It was really fun doing it because his contention is he's the one that suggests getting married. And he says, we're sick of dating. And all of our old friends who've gotten married now hate each other. You know, they're at each other's throats all the time. So it's an advantage that we're not in love. You know, this is what love should be. This kind of friendship. We'll be able to raise kids. We'll always be on each other's side. And it's a compelling argument, you know. And she's like, yeah, I think this really kind of works. And then she goes on kind of, well, but there's magic also, you know, what do we do?
And talk to us about the title. Can you share anything about the title of the book that folks might be interested in?
Yes, The Magic of Found Objects comes about because the witchy mom is an artist, and that's how she makes her living. She just picks up found objects and turns them into art and sells them. And she just has this very bohemian lifestyle. She lives in Woodstock the whole time. And, you know, she has men coming in and out of her life, and everything's just sort of really magical for her. And she can't conceive of living any other way. And then Franzi, who's named for her mother's favorite character in a book from the Five Little Peppers and How They Grew, which is a book from really a long time ago. Franzi was the curly-haired blonde toddler. But Franzi's really caught. She loves being with her mom and all the hippies. But her twin brother, Hendrix, named for guess who, hates being there, even though it feels very unsafe. So it's kind of this, where do you land in life? You know, that's really the thing.
So let's take a peek at one review, and then I want to know the inspiration of where this whole idea came from. And so this is from Barbara Davis, another author I adore, who is actually one of the Blue Sky Book Chat hosts with me on Facebook and the Blue Sky Book Chat group. And I love how Barbara caught that it's a charming tale about what happens when your head tells you to settle, but your heart keeps whispering something else. Funny, poignant, and beautifully clear-eyed, a delightfully grown-up coming-of-age story. That captures it so nicely, the tone of the book.
I love Barbara. So, yes, it was so nice of her to do that.
So where did the inspiration for this whole idea come from?
Well, I don't know about you when you're writing books, but I always get two inspirations, and this book was no different. I've always wanted to write a book about Woodstock because I'm just fascinated with that whole thing of 500,000 people suddenly converging on this small town and having this very peaceful very muddy musical experience. And I was too young to go. Plus I lived in California. But my uncle, who was a rock star, believe it or not, he was in a band produced by Jimi Hendrix called Cat Mother and the All Night Newsboys. And he was spending that summer with the band touring all these music festivals. 1969 was when there were all these music festivals. So he went and he was in a music festival with Jimi Hendrix in New Jersey. And then Woodstock turned out to be the biggest thing going. So Jimi Hendrix and his band was helicoptered into Woodstock. The poor Cat Mother had to stay behind in New Jersey. And he's always been like, we could have been famous if they had just taken us too, So that was something I always wanted to write about, although my uncle is not in this book. But the other thing, the more serious inspiration, was the thing about the two moms. I had two moms, my biological mother and my stepmother, and they hated each other. My father married my mother after having a fight with his longtime girlfriend for years. He moved to a different city, meets my mom, marries her within 2 months. They have 3 kids together. It's a disastrous marriage. They end up getting divorced, and he marries his old girlfriend.
Oh, wow.
I know. So it was like, I always wanted to write about that because I really had these two very, very different moms. My own mom was a little bipolar, a little bit crazy. Life was always exhilarating and unexpected and really kind of nuts with her. And my stepmom was this stable, calming kind of person who gave me this different perspective in life. One was really a lot of fun. One was really grounding. So I wanted to write a book about a woman who has these two moms who bring her such different perspectives. So bringing in the Woodstock thing and the two moms thing, it drove me crazy while I was writing it, but it kind of.
Oh, it all came together. I can see it. It all came together in this book. That's beautiful. I love the idea that you have inspiration from 2 different places each time. That's actually really cool.
Weaving the story together, I hate to say it, but it kind of took the pandemic to do that because I just didn't have anywhere to go. I'm very social, and I had to just stay home in my pajamas, in my bed, writing this book, all on my own, completely isolated, without any of my writer friends kind of to bounce stuff off of. And it was like, really quite a time.
You have had so many great books already. And I'm interested to ask you the editing question because I've heard really interesting answers from different authors. Some people, like Rochelle Weinstein, said it changes every time. Every book is its own beast and the editing process is different per book. And other people said, as I do more and more books, the editing process gets easier. I know what I'm doing. It takes less revisions. And so I'm interested in your perspective. What did it look like for this book? And what does it look like over time as you've had this series of novels?
It's so interesting because my first novels were with Crown publishers. And I was, like one of their mid-list people. And I didn't get a lot of editing, which made me think, I just must be great. I need editing. And then when I'd be reading, usually at the first reading, you're out in public reading the first chapter of your book to people and you go, well, that didn't need to be there. I wish I'd read that paragraph. And I'm leaving out whole chunks as I'm reading it. So everybody really does need editing. But at Lake Union, I've gotten these wonderful edits. I mean, they're so rigorous. And it's like somebody takes the trouble to sit down and know your book as well or better than you do. They really know it better than you do because you wrote it a while back, and it's all in your head. So I've loved the editing process. But it's rigorous. It definitely is one of those things where you sit down and have to take a deep breath and go, okay. I was a newspaper reporter for years, so I'm used to being edited, and I don't feel precious about the different words that are on the page. I'm easily swayed to give up things and to make it better. And I know that making it shorter always makes it better.
And any advice for writers who are not as far as you are in your career? Like I said, this book's going to do great. It's already a bestseller out the gate. It's got thousands of reviews. But what about those of us who are earlier in our career? What do you advise us as we're working towards that goal?
You know what? I think the real thing is is just don't give up. My first novel took me 17 years to write. And it was the thing, I wasn't writing on it every day for 17 years or even every year, but it stayed in the drawer, and I would pull it out and then I would work on it and work on it. And then it got accepted. It was a bidding war. It was this whole huge thing. It was like this amazing thing. And I think not giving up is really the main thing. But while you're writing, my other piece of advice while you're writing is that to keep the editing and the writing part completely separate. Don't even let the editor part of your brain know about the writing part of your brain. And when you're doing the writing, just be fanciful, be fearless, put everything on the page that you can, write the worst possible draft, the things that you just think would never be in the book, and then know that later you'll be able to trim it and fix it up. Because sometimes some of the really best things come about unexpectedly, that you wouldn't have thought if you were thinking of your audience. You can't think of the audience, I guess, is the main thing. You can't think of the reader out there, disapproving, going, why did you put that in? I don't like hearing about Woodstock. You have to really let yourself go and then figure it all out later. Do you find that?
Your editor brain is so harsh, right? Like you say, like so mean. My editor brain is like, that is the most ridiculous idea ever. Take that out of the book. And
no one wants
my editor brain wouldn't let anything be in the damn book.
Exactly. But your writer brain, if just being nurtured along, it's like, it's okay to write badly. It's okay. We'll fix it.
And also you can make things make sense later. Like sometimes you write something first draft and it's like so ridiculous that the character suddenly takes a left turn and goes completely off a cliff, and it's like it makes no sense, right? You're like, the reader's going to be reading this going like, what just happened? Now the character can fly. But you know what? I think someone gives the Harry Potter example. If you put enough little hints in early enough that the character can fly, when they finally fly, the reader won't go like, what?
Exactly. I heard this great piece of writing advice one time, and I think it's really true. It's just kind of what you were just saying, that you can get away with anything in a book as long as you prepare the reader for what you're doing. You just can't surprise them and make them go, oh no, that's not true. It's not true. If it's emotionally legitimate, it will work in your book. It really will.
Right. And another great tip someone gave me is like, if you're going to do something ridiculous, have the character question how ridiculous the thing is.
Yes. True. Yes. Have somebody in the book be the audience who's probably going, what? And
Come on, really?
You can take care of that, and then they have no objection left.
Exactly. So talking of reading, have you read anything good recently?
Well, you know what? I've surprisingly been on an Ann Tyler kick. And Ann Tyler, has written 1 million books, and she's been writing forever. I think she's 80 years old now. And her books, a lot of people think they're really old fashioned, but I find her plotting amazing. And her books are all really character driven, which I love, because that's how I first know about a book, is the characters. And so watching how she creates characters with just a few strokes, and puts it in there and then throws everybody in a room together, and the plots just turn out great. So I read these and go, she makes it look so simple.
Oh, okay. So for someone like me who doesn't know where to start, is there one in particular that you would say like, this is the one to start with?
Many of them are really good, but the one that I just keep rereading is The Accidental Tourist. Okay. And it's about a guy who's an introvert, and he writes books, travel guides for people who don't want to leave home. So just how to be in a place and make it as much like home as possible. They're really funny, and his life just turns upside down. It just can't. Yeah, it's like being exposed to all the magic and the craziness that life has to offer, how you can't just be controlled.
I love when someone introduces me to a new author in an interview, so I'm going to go get that one. I mean, I know who Ann Tyler is, but I haven't read that book, so I'm going to go get it.
Yes, you will be so happy. You will really be happy.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I owe you for that. So before we wrap up, anything I haven't asked that you wanted to make sure you talked about?
Well, one thing I just really want to say is how grateful we authors are to readers. And I know you share this too, that you just work on these books and you're in isolation all by yourself, and you're being bossed around by these imaginary people who you say, all right, you are going to do this and hook up with this guy. And the character goes, I'm just not. And the character, it turns out, is always right. You know, they are always right. And so you have to just follow them along. I mean, I walk around when I'm writing a book, when I'm deep in it, looking haunted. You know, I have black circles under my eyes. My family worries about me. And then you get it done or abandoned, you know, whichever happens. And then suddenly it's out in the world and people write you wonderful letters and say, that is how I felt. And it just makes you feel so connected, right? It's really true that we're all connected in this way and that we get to be people who do this work, you know, that we're putting our hearts out there. And we just thank you so much for reading us and for writing reviews and for corresponding with us.
Oh, that is such a great way to put it. And I actually saw someone put a tweet up the other day that I totally agreed with. They said, if you ever hesitate to write to an author and tell them how their book affected you in a nice way, not in a you ruined my life kind of way. We don't need those. But like, if you ever hesitate, just know that that can be the thing that inspires that author to write an entire next book. That one email can be enough. It's amazing.
Because there are the days of writing, you know, it's not just this happy little day where we go in and go, oh, and what will I write next? You know, mainly we're dragging ourselves there and going, oh.
It's torturous, like trying to get a book finished, and it takes forever. It feels like it'll never see the light of day when you're writing the book. It just feels like, will this ever be in a reader's hand?
Right, right. And if you're writing under contract, you're thinking, how I spend the first hour thinking, how can I get out of this contract?
I love that.
What excuse can I write to the editor saying I can't do this?
Okay, we won't tag Lake Union in our little conversation there.
And so then when you settle down and you finally do it, you know, it's just like, okay, I'm gonna do it. So
and having those emails, it makes all the difference. I've actually I got to the point that I write these things in a little book that sits like a notepad that sits next to my computer when I'm writing. And when I'm getting stuck, which is really about your emotional mindset, I open that book and read some of the things that readers said about my last book, just to help me go, okay, no, I can do this. I can.
Right. And I know we need these encouragements, and because we're alone, we don't get it, you know? So it's not like a job where your boss goes, yay, every day. Not that there is a job like that.
So let's take a peek at how people can connect with you, including how they can reach you if they do want to send you any information or thank yous or kudos or anything for this wonderful book. On Instagram, you're at Maddie Dawes, MADDIEDAWS, and MaddieDawson.com on the internet. You can find all your other social medias there on your website. And thank you for joining me. This has been such a fun conversation.
Thank you. It's been so much fun. I really appreciate it.